The flashing red lights of the newsfeed gripped every screen. Breaking news. International star singer Emma Brooks collapses in a nightclub. An apparent overdose. The camera zooms in on a distraught crowd. Phones raised high, recording every second of the chaos. The whispers quickly spiraled into rumors, and in an instant, the world's most beloved pop icon was a tragic headline. Fans, once idolizing her every move, now questioned if it was all a lie. Did they really know Emma, or was her fame built on a carefully hidden facade? Meanwhile, the emergency vehicles arrived, their sirens piercing the night air. Within minutes, the news broke, a dark web of betrayal, addiction, and crimes that no one had ever suspected. But it wasn't just her fall from grace. Emma had been hiding something even darker, something that had been brewing beneath the surface for years. She wasn't just another casualty of the entertainment world. She was a star caught in the center of a scandal that no one had seen coming. The cameras caught a glimpse of her limp body being carried into the ambulance, her once vibrant life now reduced to a tragic spectacle. And as the flashing lights bathed the scene in eerie hues of red and blue, one question echoed through the chaos. What else was Emma hiding? The curtain was only beginning to rise on the story of a lifetime. As the ambulance sped away, Emma Brooks' collapse became the talk of every network. Headlines screamed betrayal, and whispers of addiction haunted her legacy. Yet, no one could have predicted how deeply the story would go. A year ago, Emma was the queen of pop, adored by millions. Her voice was the soundtrack of countless lives, her beauty immortalized in glossy magazines. The world knew her for the powerful anthems of resilience and love that filled the charts. But behind the stage lights, Emma's life was falling apart. The signs were always there. Late-night binges, whispered arguments with her manager, and the crack in her smile that no one dared to question. Yet no one ever suspected the truth. What had been a glamorous ride was now a steep descent, and no one, not even those closest to her, could have seen the danger lurking beneath the surface. As the press flooded the hospital with cameras, something was clear. Emma was no longer just a star. She had become a symbol of the dark side of fame. Her fall from grace wasn't just a tragedy for her fans. It was a reminder that in the world of celebrities, everything has a price. Inside the hospital, the race against time was underway. Emma was in critical condition. But what the press didn't know was that she wasn't alone in the struggle. In a small, sterile waiting room, her manager, Kyle Thompson, paced nervously. His face was a mask of calm, but his hands trembled as he fumbled with his phone, sending quick messages. A man in his late 30s, Kyle had been Emma's closest confidant for years. But tonight, his expression was darker, his eyes filled with a fear that had nothing to do with the collapse. No one knew that Emma's downfall had been hastened by more than just addiction. She had been entangled in shady business deals and dangerous circles, ones that were now closing in on her like a noose. He had done everything to protect her from the truth, to keep her from knowing the full extent of her financial ruin and the web of deceit around her. Now, as her life hung in the balance, he could only pray that the secrets he'd kept would stay buried, for if they came to light, they'd destroy everything. But Emma wasn't his only problem. In the background, a phone call had been made that would change everything. And now, there was no turning back. Back in the hospital corridors, a low hum of whispers filled the air. The staff worked tirelessly, their movements swift and purposeful. Among them was Sarah Williams, a young nurse who had been working the night shift. Sarah was no stranger to chaos, but tonight, the weight of Emma's condition seemed to ripple through the building. She had seen Emma from afar before, at charity events and red carpets. But tonight, Sarah saw a different side of the star. In the brief moments when the chaos subsided, Sarah found herself glancing at the photos of Emma displayed on the wall, smiling, glamorous, untouchable. Yet, the reality was far from that. Emma was a woman in pain, a woman trapped by her own stardom. Sarah's phone buzzed in her pocket, and she stepped into a quieter corner of the hallway to take the call. The voice on the other end was familiar, but the words that followed sent a chill down her spine. "We need you to keep an eye on her. If anyone asks, you don't know anything. This is bigger than you think. Phone clicked off, and Sarah stood there, frozen. She knew the cost of secrets. She had seen them destroy lives before. But now, Sarah found herself tied to Emma's fate in ways she could never have imagined. By the time dawn broke over the city, the world had learned the first shocking truth about Emma's collapse. It wasn't just an accident. It was a crime. The authorities had received an anonymous tip, and a search was now underway. Emma had been the victim of a carefully orchestrated plot, one that involved more than just her addiction. Her financial downfall, her addiction, and the shady characters in her life were all connected, linked to a crime far more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. Emma had been surrounded by people who cared only for their own gain, and now the question wasn't if she would survive, but how far the web of lies would stretch. Kyle sat in his office, staring at his phone, and he knew that once the authorities started digging, the full extent of Emma's downfall would be exposed. He wasn't sure if anyone, including Emma, would be able to recover from it. But the whispers were already spreading. The star's fall from grace was no longer just a personal tragedy. It was a crime that could unravel an entire industry. Emma had always been more than a pop icon. She was an ideal, the girl next door who made it big, the underdog turned star. Her fans weren't just fans, they were a part of her journey. They knew her story, or at least they thought they did. Her rise to fame had been meteoric. A high school dropout with a voice that could melt hearts, Emma had risen from the struggling singer in smoky clubs to the worldwide sensation gracing the covers of magazines. She had it all: beauty, fame, power, the perfect life. But what they didn't see was the pressure beneath it all, the unrelenting expectations, the constant scrutiny, and the loneliness of being constantly in the spotlight. Emma had never been able to cope with the weight. She started seeking solace in ways that no one noticed, until it was too late. The drugs had always been a secret escape, and her manager, Kyle, had turned a blind eye, until the darkness began to consume her. Now, as the world watched her unravel, the question loomed. Was it just the pressure of fame? Or was there more? Had she been betrayed by the very people who claimed to care? Behind the scenes, Emma's life was a delicate house of cards, and Kyle, her manager, was trying to hold it all together. He had been with her since the beginning, and he was loyal, or so he believed. The truth was more complicated. Kyle had always been the gatekeeper, the one who protected Emma from the world, but he was also the one who had allowed her to spiral deeper into her self-destructive habits. He justified it by telling himself he was doing it for her, that Emma needed the escape to survive. But as the months wore on, that escape turned into a crutch, and the crutch turned into a beast of its own. Every time he saw her step on stage, Emma seemed further away, and the person she had once been was fading into the background. Kyle had always been the silent enabler, keeping her secrets and making sure she stayed on top, even as her mental and physical health deteriorated. But now, with Emma's collapse making headlines, Kyle was no longer able to ignore the truth. The question haunted him every day. Was he just a manager, or was he also complicit in her downfall? Emma's fans were heartbroken, confused, and angry. They had idolized her, built shrines to her music, followed every tweet, and supported her through every album. But now their beloved star was in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Rumors were circulating that Emma's collapse wasn't just the result of a personal crisis, but part of a much larger scandal. The tabloids began to piece together a narrative that painted her as someone caught in the grip of addiction, betrayal, and even criminal activity. What was once a tragic tale of a star burned out by fame was now being twisted into something darker. The truth was blurry, but one thing was certain: the public's love for Emma was shifting. Fans who had once sworn loyalty now felt betrayed. In the streets, in the fan groups, and on social media, they questioned everything they had believed in. Was their idol just another casualty of a corrupt industry? Or had they all been lied to by someone they thought they knew? Emma's world was crumbling, and the consequences reached far beyond her personal pain. Sarah Williams, the nurse who had been on shift the night of Emma's collapse, had witnessed something that no one else had. She had seen the desperation in Emma's eyes, the fragility beneath the glittering exterior. And though she had promised herself she wouldn't get involved, something kept pulling her back into the story. As the days passed, Sarah was contacted by someone she didn't know, someone who claimed to know the truth about what had happened. They told her to meet at a local diner, to listen to what they had to say. Sarah was hesitant, scared even, but she couldn't ignore the growing feeling that there was more to the story than what the media was reporting. She didn't know if it was a trick or if she was being pulled into something dangerous, but Sarah couldn't shake the sense that she was about to uncover something that would change everything. As she walked into the diner, she scanned the room, looking for the mysterious figure who had promised answers. The mysterious figure who had contacted Sarah was none other than a man named Victor Reed. He was a former associate of Emma's, a name that had never appeared in the headlines until now. Victor had once been a close confidant of Emma's ex-boyfriend, a man who had disappeared from the public eye shortly after their breakup. But now, Victor had a story to tell, and he wasn't going to let anyone silence him. As Sarah sat across from him in the diner, Victor leaned forward, his voice low and tense. "What I'm about to tell you could destroy her. It's not just about the drugs. It's about the money, the deals, the people she's been working with. She's in deeper than you think." Sarah listened in disbelief, unsure whether to trust him. But something in his eyes told her that he was telling the truth. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly starting to fall into place, and Sarah was about to be dragged into a conspiracy that would change the course of everything. Sarah sat in stunned silence, absorbing Victor's revelation. The world she had thought she understood now seemed fractured and treacherous. Every image of Emma she had cherished as a fan now carried hidden meanings. The glamorous pop star had been entangled in secret financial deals, manipulations by her management, and an inner circle that thrived on control rather than care. Sarah realized that Emma's collapse wasn't just personal but orchestrated, an exploitation of trust and vulnerability. Fear and curiosity battled within her. Could she trust Victor's words, or was this a trap? Yet she felt compelled to dig deeper, knowing the truth could protect Emma or ruin them all. She needed evidence, allies, and courage. The journey to uncovering the truth had just begun, and Sarah understood that once she stepped forward, there would be no turning back. Determined to protect Emma, Sarah decided to contact Kyle. She needed someone who could navigate the music industry's undercurrents and access Emma directly. Kyle had always been the shield, the guardian of her career, but he was now a fractured figure under the weight of guilt. Their conversation started with hesitation, a careful dance of words. Kyle listened, his hands clasped tightly around a mug, the lines of stress etched deep on his face. Sarah recounted Victor's account, emphasizing that Emma's collapse might not have been accidental. Kyle's initial defensiveness gave way to recognition. He had seen the warning signs but had been paralyzed by loyalty and fear. Now a reluctant alliance formed. Together, they would attempt to untangle the web of betrayal and deceit surrounding Emma, racing against time to save her from herself and others. Emma, unaware of the silent storm around her, woke in her apartment, surrounded by luxury but suffocated by emptiness. The walls were adorned with awards, yet each gleamed trophy felt like a reminder of obligations she could no longer fulfill. Her phone buzzed relentlessly with messages, calls, and social media notifications. She tried to find solace in music, in familiar melodies, but the sound only amplified her isolation. The pressure of maintaining perfection, the fear of judgment, and the hidden betrayals weighed heavily. She wondered if anyone truly cared beyond appearances. A storm raged outside, matching her turmoil. Lightning illuminated her room sporadically, casting eerie shadows. She knew she had to confront her past, her choices, and those around her, or risk losing herself entirely. Confrontation could no longer be delayed. Kyle and Sarah arranged to meet Emma at a private studio. As she arrived, her expression was wary, defensive, yet fragile. Victor's warnings had left a lingering fear. They tried to explain the network of deceit surrounding her, the manipulation by industry insiders, and the dangers she had unknowingly faced. Emma's emotions swung between anger, denial, and despair. She struggled to trust them, questioning their motives. Slowly, as evidence was presented, documents, recordings, and proof of mismanagement, her defenses weakened. For the first time in months, clarity pierced the fog. Emma realized the extent of betrayal, yet she also recognized the possibility of reclaiming control, of confronting the toxic influences and choosing her own path forward. The final decision rested with Emma. Alone in her thoughts later that night, she reflected on loyalty, trust, and self-preservation. The truth was harsh, yet liberating. Emma realized that the journey to recovery wasn't just about healing from addiction, but reclaiming her narrative from those who sought to control it. She would confront the betrayals publicly if necessary, redefine relationships, and embrace the vulnerability that fame had forced her to suppress. As dawn broke, she felt a renewed strength. The storm outside had passed, and while the scars remained, Emma knew she had the courage to navigate the future on her terms. She was no longer a passive participant in her own story. She was the author, the hero, and the survivor. Emma convened a private meeting with her management, addressing the betrayals and manipulations she had uncovered. She spoke with a composed authority, asserting that trust had been broken and that accountability was necessary. Her eyes were steady, yet they betrayed the weight of exhaustion and emotional scars. Her voice, measured but firm, outlined her expectations for transparency, fairness, and integrity moving forward. The team listened, some shifting nervously, realizing the power dynamic had reversed. Emma acknowledged the pain of confrontation but emphasized that rebuilding trust required honesty and courage. She insisted on full access to financial records and creative decisions. As the conversation unfolded, Emma's demeanor combined strength, vulnerability, and clarity. This was no longer about compliance but about reclaiming her autonomy and redefining her career on her terms. The atmosphere shifted, fear mingled with respect as her management recognized the seriousness of her resolve and the new era she was initiating. Sarah and Kyle strategized with Emma, reviewing evidence and mapping out her public response. Every step required precision. The media's scrutiny could amplify her vulnerability or her message of strength. Sarah suggested a careful social media campaign to regain public trust, while Kyle emphasized confronting internal corruption. Emma listened, integrating ideas, aware that each decision carried potential consequences. The trio debated options, weighing timing, tone, and transparency. The tension between urgency and caution was palpable. Emma acknowledged that vulnerability could inspire authenticity, but overexposure risked exploitation. They outlined contingencies for backlash and support systems for Emma's mental health. By the end of the session, Emma felt empowered. Clarity replaced confusion, and her path forward was becoming tangible, a delicate balance of courage, strategy, and self-preservation. Emma returned to the studio, reconnecting with her music in a way she hadn't for months. Each note she played reflected her struggles and triumphs. The creative process became a cathartic release, allowing her to channel anger, fear, and hope into melody. Sarah and Kyle watched, understanding that music was Emma's language of healing. The recording space was alive with energy as she experimented with arrangements, her voice stronger and richer, tinged with newfound vulnerability. They discussed lyrical content and production choices, emphasizing authenticity over commercial formulas. Emma realized that creative control was integral to her independence, that artistic integrity and personal truth could coexist. The collaboration became seamless. Trust, respect, and shared purpose permeated the room. Each recording session strengthened Emma's confidence, reminding her why she had fallen in love with music in the first place, and why reclaiming her voice was essential to her identity. The public statement was prepared, each word meticulously chosen to convey accountability, gratitude, and self-empowerment. Emma rehearsed delivery, understanding the importance of tone, body language, and timing. Sarah coached her on media dynamics, while Kyle ensured the content aligned with verified facts. When the cameras rolled, Emma's calm, confident presence captivated viewers. She acknowledged past struggles without excuses, recognized the support of her team and fans, and outlined her commitment to integrity moving forward. The response was immediate. Social media erupted with messages of support, admiration, and empathy. Emma felt relief and pride. The culmination of months of secrecy, manipulation, and fear had transformed into a moment of transparency, courage, and reclamation of narrative. She realized that true influence came from honesty and resilience, not image or control. Emma celebrated her renewed freedom and control with Sarah and Kyle, reflecting on the journey they had shared. The weight of secrecy and betrayal lifted, replaced with pride, relief, and anticipation for the future. They toasted to resilience, creativity, and genuine trust, acknowledging the emotional labor and courage required to reclaim her life. Emma felt a profound sense of ownership over her story, her music, and her career. As the sun set, they watched the city's skyline, each light reflecting possibilities ahead. She understood that challenges would continue, but now she had tools, allies, and self-belief to face them. In that quiet victory, Emma realized the true essence of empowerment, understanding, action, and choosing authenticity over fear. The final scene captured hope, renewal, and the enduring strength of human spirit. Emma prepared for her first post-crisis live performance, nerves and excitement intertwined. Backstage, she paced, reflecting on the journey that had led to this night. Sarah adjusted her microphone and whispered reassurances, reminding Emma of her strength, resilience, and artistic growth. Kyle checked the technical setup, ensuring everything ran smoothly, his calm presence grounding the tension. Emma took a deep breath, focusing on the music, envisioning each note as a testament to her reclaimed control and authenticity. She reminded herself that every obstacle had forged clarity, and that the audience tonight would witness her courage as much as her talent. The energy backstage was electric, yet disciplined, each movement deliberate and intentional. Emma's heart raced with anticipation, a mix of vulnerability and confidence. She stepped toward the stage entrance, ready to transform fear into performance, and let the music carry her story to the world. The concert began, Emma stepping onto the stage with grace and confidence. The crowd erupted with applause, feeding her energy as she started her first song. Every note resonated with emotion, capturing the essence of her journey and struggle. The performance flowed seamlessly, her voice powerful yet tender, balancing technical skill with vulnerability. Sarah and Kyle watched from the wings, pride evident in their expressions. The audience swayed, some recording moments, others lost in the music. Emma connected with them through authenticity, sharing a story of resilience, redemption, and courage. Lights danced across the stage, creating a visual symphony that complemented her sound. Every gesture, glance, and movement was intentional, reinforcing her narrative. The night became a celebration of artistry and human perseverance, a tangible victory over fear and doubt. Mid-performance, Emma paused for a heartfelt speech addressing the audience directly. She spoke of challenges, betrayal, and the journey to reclaim her voice. Her words resonated deeply, eliciting cheers, tears, and applause. She acknowledged her team's unwavering support, her fans' loyalty, and the power of authenticity. Emma's composure masked the surge of emotion beneath, her eyes glistening under the lights. She encouraged others to embrace resilience, to transform adversity into creative expression. The moment was both vulnerable and empowering, connecting her to the audience on a profound level. Her music and speech intertwined, crafting a narrative of hope and human strength. Every word carried intentional weight, every pause enhancing impact. The crowd responded in kind, a shared celebration of survival, courage, and self-expression. The final song approached, a piece Emma had written during her darkest moments. The melody carried struggle, triumph, and renewal. As she played, the notes reflected both pain and joy, a synthesis of her experiences. Sarah and Kyle monitored the production, ensuring technical perfection while witnessing emotional authenticity. Emma moved across the stage, interacting with the audience, her gestures expressive, her voice soaring. The crowd mirrored her energy, clapping and singing along. Each chord and lyric symbolized victory over fear, reclaiming creativity, and forging identity. The atmosphere was electric yet intimate, music acting as both shield and bridge. Emma's performance became a testament to resilience, teamwork, and artistic courage, leaving an indelible mark on all present. As the curtain fell, Emma stood center stage, waving to a cheering audience. The performance concluded with standing ovation, her journey immortalized in this moment. Backstage, Sarah and Kyle embraced her, relief and pride evident. Emma reflected on the path that led here, the betrayals, fears, hard work, and breakthroughs. She recognized that victory was not just personal but collective, built on trust, collaboration, and perseverance. The applause lingered, a reminder of human connection through art. Emma felt complete, empowered, and ready for the future. The night's triumph symbolized her reclaimed voice, creative control, and the strength to face whatever came next. They stepped out together, the city skyline glowing behind, a metaphor for endless possibilities and the enduring power of resilience. Dawn broke over the city as Emma sat on her apartment balcony, reflecting on her journey. The night's applause still echoed in her mind, but now she sought quiet, a moment to process growth. Sarah joined with coffee, smiling softly, understanding unspoken thoughts. Kyle called, sharing praise for the performance and hinting at new projects. Emma realized her path was not ending but evolving, that each challenge she faced had prepared her for leadership and creativity. She envisioned mentoring young artists, sharing lessons learned, and fostering collaboration. The city skyline glimmered as sunlight caught glass towers, symbolizing opportunity and renewal. Emma's eyes softened, gratitude replacing lingering fear. She felt grounded yet inspired, ready to embrace change. Every breath felt intentional, a reminder that life's canvas awaited her next brushstroke. Reflection mingled with anticipation, a perfect blend of closure and potential. Emma walked through the quiet streets, absorbing early morning light. Street vendors set up, joggers passed, and birds chirped softly. Each step felt grounding, a reminder of simplicity beyond the stage. She met familiar faces, exchanged nods, feeling part of a larger rhythm. Thoughts of past struggles surfaced briefly, then faded, replaced by gratitude. Emma noticed murals celebrating artists and resilience, connecting her to a community she longed to support. She considered workshops and mentoring sessions, imagining herself guiding others to reclaim creativity. Kyle's voice echoed from a recent call, suggesting collaborations beyond music. Sarah mentioned a charity concert, offering a chance to blend art with advocacy. Emma realized that influence and impact mattered as much as personal success. Hope and purpose intertwined, motivating her forward. Emma arrived at a local arts center, greeted by children painting and music teachers setting up instruments. The walls displayed colorful works, celebrating creativity and perseverance. She introduced herself to the students, sharing stories of her journey and emphasizing resilience through art. Faces lit with curiosity and excitement, Emma felt a profound sense of purpose. Sarah helped coordinate activities, while Kyle managed logistics, ensuring smooth operations. Emma guided a small group through songwriting exercises, noticing sparks of talent and confidence emerging. Laughter, mistakes, and triumphs blended naturally, teaching lessons through engagement. Time seemed suspended, creativity flowing effortlessly. Emma realized she had become a catalyst for growth, echoing the support she once received. This environment, alive with inspiration and energy, affirmed her decision to invest in community and mentorship. As afternoon fell, Emma stepped outside for a break, breathing in fresh air. She watched the sunlight dance on leaves, feeling rejuvenated. Children's laughter echoed, blending with distant city sounds. She reflected on the transformation from fear to empowerment, realizing her voice now influenced others. Kyle joined, sharing potential opportunities to expand the arts program. Sarah mentioned networking events and collaborations for social impact, i.e., Emma felt gratitude for allies, mentors, and experiences that shaped her. She envisioned sustainable projects, balancing performance, mentorship, and advocacy. Every decision felt deliberate, a chance to align passion with purpose. She noted small victories, from smiles to new ideas forming, appreciating the ripple effect of creativity. Emma understood fulfillment required action, collaboration, and vision. Evening settled as Emma closed the day, gazing at the city skyline from the rooftop of the Arts Center. Lights twinkled like stars, reflecting her internal clarity and sense of direction. Sarah and Kyle joined her, sharing quiet satisfaction. Emma reflected on every triumph, setback, and lesson, understanding resilience was a journey, not a destination. They discussed upcoming projects, charity events, and mentoring programs, aligning vision and action. Emma felt a profound sense of completion, yet anticipation for what was next. She recognized that her story now extended beyond personal achievement to community impact. The horizon glimmered with opportunity, her heart steady and purposeful. As night deepened, Emma smiled, ready to embrace the next chapter, inspired, grounded, and unstoppable. Morning sunlight spilled into the new arts center Emma helped design, the space alive with creativity and movement. Children, teenagers, and young adults explored music, painting, and dance corners. Emma walked through, notebook in hand, observing, listening, offering encouragement. Kyle coordinated volunteers, ensuring instruments and supplies were ready, while Sarah organized workshops. Emma reflected on how far she'd come. Fear, doubt, and uncertainty had transformed into purpose and action. Each smile she encountered reminded her that mentorship could ripple across communities. She paused at a wall of artwork, seeing her influence woven into the bright colors and bold strokes. Conversations about projects, performances, and exhibitions blended with laughter. Emma felt a profound sense of continuity, realizing that her personal journey had become collective growth. The sun glinted through glass panels, illuminating hope and potential. Every heartbeat in the room echoed the promise of creativity, shared and sustained. Afternoon brought a special event, Emma's first public mentorship showcase. Families and supporters gathered as students performed music, recited poetry, and displayed artwork. Emma introduced each participant, celebrating growth and courage. Kyle handled logistics seamlessly, moving microphones and cameras, while Sarah coordinated volunteers and guided students through final touches. Emma felt a sense of profound satisfaction as applause followed each performance. The community's energy was palpable, young talents glowing with newfound confidence. She watched as shy students stood tall, encouraged by support and recognition. Emma shared anecdotes about failure and perseverance, reminding everyone that creative courage required patience. She noticed parents exchanging proud glances, community leaders taking notes, and children inspiring one another. In these moments, Emma realized her journey's impact had expanded exponentially. She understood that her story no longer belonged solely to her. It belonged to everyone she touched. Evening light softened the space, casting long shadows of achievement, resilience, and hope. Late afternoon, Emma walked through the rooftop garden, taking a moment to breathe and reflect. The city skyline glimmered as golden hour light bathed glass towers. Sarah and Kyle joined, discussing future expansions, new workshops, scholarship programs, and collaborations with other arts organizations. Emma considered her evolving role, from performer to mentor and community leader. She recalled struggles of isolation, self-doubt, and missed opportunities. Each challenge had honed resilience, empathy, and vision. Emma realized her legacy wasn't fame or accolades. It was the ability to ignite potential in others. Together, the trio planned initiatives blending art, education, and social impact. Conversations shifted between logistics and philosophy, grounding ideas in reality while dreaming boldly. Emma noted small victories, confident smiles, completed projects, budding talents, and understood that transformation was ongoing, generational, and alive in every student. Twilight painted warm gradients across the skyline, echoing the promise of continued growth. Evening workshops began, students practicing music and painting under Emma's guidance. She moved between groups, giving tips, encouraging experimentation, and celebrating effort over perfection. Kyle managed lighting and music cues, ensuring ambience supported creativity. Sarah facilitated small group discussions, nurturing collaboration. Emma reflected on the evolution of these programs, how a simple idea had grown into a thriving ecosystem of artistic exploration. She recognized the importance of sustainable mentorship, documenting successes and learning from challenges. Conversations with students revealed hopes, fears, and ambitions, inspiring Emma to think bigger. Each lesson learned, mistake corrected, and experiment attempted contributed to collective growth. The warm glow of lamps created a soft, intimate environment, highlighting faces and expressions. Emma felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing her influence would extend beyond the evening, nurturing creativity for years to come. Night fell, and Emma stood on the rooftop, gazing at the city lights. She felt the weight of years of effort, fear, and triumph coalesce into clarity and purpose. Kyle and Sarah joined, sharing quiet smiles and reflective silence. Emma acknowledged that the journey never truly ends. It transforms. Each student, each performance, each workshop extended her legacy, creating ripples across time. She envisioned new programs, partnerships, and ways to inspire creativity and resilience. The wind carried faint sounds of music from below, a living testament to growth and passion. Emma realized fulfillment was not in reaching a destination, but in nurturing a continuum of learning, courage, and expression. Together, the trio silently celebrated progress, collaboration, and the promise of tomorrow. Stars emerged in the sky above, symbolizing endless possibilities and the enduring power of art, mentorship, and human connection.